Hello again. In this video we're going to be talking about writing the vertex form. We're not really writing it, but reading vertex form of a parabola. But both for vertical parabolas and horizontal parabolas. And what do I mean by vertical and horizontal parabolas? Well, let me kind of show you. You already should be familiar with vertical parabolas. That's a parabola that opens upwards or downwards, right? Right side up or upside down parabolas. We're very familiar with vertical parabolas. Horizontal parabola, as you might be imagining, is a sideways parabola. It's a parabola that opens to the right or a parabola that opens to the left. That was a terrible looking parabola, but I think you get the idea. So they have their own little vertex forms, and you see them written out already on this slide. Well, this slide has a vertical parabola. There's another slide that has a horizontal parabola. Now, what vertex form is, it's just another equation, or another way of writing the equation for a parabola or a quadratic. One way to write the equation is standard form. We've seen this before. We've used it a lot in the past for quadratic formula, yada, 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 things like that. So vertex form is just a different way of writing the equation, but this particular way of writing the equation is a little more useful because it's called vertex form for a reason. It tells us the vertex in the equation. Okay. The most important part of what we're going to do today is not necessarily finding what h and k are, but making sure we understand the proper sign for h and k. Right? Now there are two ways vertex form is going to be written most of the time. Typically it's like this here on the left, but sometimes it is what you see here on the right. The only difference between the two is where the k is. The first one, you can see the k is on the right side of the equal sign, and the other one is the left side of the equal sign. So sometimes they put it in these weird places, but either way, it's still the same number, but the sign is opposite, right? If it's a plus over here, then it's a minus over there. So it's changed its sign. But that's the only difference between the two. Now let's just label a few of these. What do these mean? If my equation is this, okay, let me give you an example right above it. Let's say I had y equal to 2x plus 3 squared minus 1. Okay? All right, now the a value is going to determine whether my parabola opens upwards or downwards. So my a value in the example I just wrote is 2. Now, if it's a positive a, it opens up. If it's a negative a, it opens down. Now, that 2 is a positive number, thus this parabola would open upwards. Okay? But the other thing is, let's find the vertex. Now, the vertex is hk. So what is the h value? It's where this positive 3 is, or this plus 3. The k value is where this minus 1 is. You can see just these things map to each other. Now, the thing about vertex form is we want to make sure we're very careful about what's positive and what's negative. Is h really positive 3 or is it negative 3? Well, vertex form, anywhere we see the minus sign in the form, the minus sign is really an indication that you need to be thinking opposite. Okay? Opposite of that number. So vertex form, this should be a minus h, or an opposite of h. So h looks like it's a positive 3, but this is telling me that it's really the opposite of a positive 3. H in this case is negative 3. Okay? So whatever number is in this position, whatever that h value is, we are going to reverse its sign. Okay? And the k value, notice it doesn't have a minus sign with it, it's just a plus k, which means the k value is as it's supposed to be. We're not going to change the sign for it. So it looks like a negative 1, so it really is a negative 1. So my vertex for that equation would be negative 3, negative 1. And you can see when I mean this over here, negative hk, I mean technically negative, and you can see that h there was a 3, so you'd be using a 3 or the opposite. And then the k value is as you can see it. So this basically means when I write negative hk, I just mean opposite for the h, same for the k. That's what that represents, that's what that means. Now, if it's written the other way, if you have, let's say, the equation y minus 7, cool. What's up? Alright. YouTube took out the feature where I can edit these videos in the middle, so we're going to have to just let that slide. Alright. If it's written in this format, where the k is on the other side, a equals x plus 2. I'm just making a completely different example up. Notice that this has a minus sign with it, so we have to think opposite for whatever number's in that position. Same thing for the h. It's got a minus sign with it, so again, we have to think opposite for any number in that position. So I see I have a minus 7, which means my k is really a positive 7, because I need to think opposite for that term. And the x looks like a positive 2, but remember, I have to think opposite for that position. So really not k, this is h. This h is equal to a negative 2, making the vertex for that equation negative 2, 7. Okay, so we don't have any work to do. We don't have any formulas to type in. All I want you to do in this section is basically, let me erase what's here. Okay? Take the two forms, figure out which one matches with the equation you're given, and figure out, what is the k, what is the h, what does it map to, and do you need to change the sign or not? So let me do that here. This is of the format y equals a x minus h squared plus k. Right? That's this right here. It's in that format. I went ahead and wrote it next to it just so I can easily identify what a is, what h is, and what k is. Now, the direction, which way does this open? Remember, the a value tells us which direction it opens. If it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. So my a value is negative 3. Since it's negative, this opens down. Now I need h and k for my vertex. So h, well, this 2 is mapping to h. But remember, it looks like it's a negative 2 based on the fact that I see a minus 2 here. But remember, h is opposite of the sign that I see, so h is really a positive 2 there. Now k matches with this 4. Now remember, this doesn't have a minus k. It's a plus k, which means whatever I see here really is the sign that goes with it. So it looks like a positive 4. I don't have to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to leave it stays as a positive 4. That we don't change the sign for that one. We only change the sign for the 2 because in the formula it says minus h, and that indicates to me I need to do the opposite. But if the formula is a plus number, I do not change the sign. It says the plus basically means leave the same, the minus basically means make the opposite. Right? But there's your vertex 2, 4. You can graph this on a calculator, of course, and you can see that. Why not? So if you did, let me do the third one instead of this. Okay. Now the third one, notice what form it's in. It's in the y minus k equals a x minus h squared. Now I do understand that there's a plus sign here and a plus sign here, and that's not the way it's written in the form. Because remember, if you go back and you look at the different forms, these are written with the minus sign. So that's why I'm writing mine with the minus sign, because that's the standard form for it. Okay. Alright, so looking at it now, I want to know the direction. Now the direction is still the a value. Now the a value is supposed to be here, right? Because that's where the a maps to. But I don't see any number there. Doesn't mean a doesn't exist. It means a is equal to 1. Right? It's one of those things where it's one of those invisible ones we have in math. So if you don't see the number for a, it's not there. It is there. It's just going to be 1. Now since it's a positive 1, this 1 opens upwards. Now I need to know h and k for the vertex. So my k value is here. It's mapping with a 1. But remember, I have to think opposite because it is a minus k. So since I see a positive 1, the k is really a negative 1. And now for the h, the 2 is mapping with the 8. But remember, because it's minus h, the number in this position, I have to think opposite of it. So it looks like plus 2, but really I have to think opposite of positive 2. So the h is really negative 2. So our vertex is negative 2, negative 1. You can see it on the graph there. All right. Now let's jump into horizontal parabolas. Horizontal parabolas are exactly the same, but everything is reversed. The x and y are switched, and h and k are switched. But the good news is h still corresponds with x, and the k still corresponds with y. Now just to compare this to the vertical form. The vertical one was y equals a x minus h squared plus k. You can go back in the video and you can see that that's how the vertical form is written. And the other way it was written was y minus k equals a x minus h squared. So comparing the two, right? This was the red is for vertical and the black one's for horizontal. You can see the differences, right? The x and y's are switched, the h and the k's are switched. Now the good news is h still corresponds with x, as I was saying, and k still corresponds with y. What do I mean by that? Well, in here, the number, whatever k is going to be, whatever number it is, because it's next to y, I know that's going to be k. K is always going to be the number next to y, just like h is always going to be the number next to x. So that's how you can sort of identify what h and k are. K is going to be the number that's next to the y. H is going to be the number that's next to the x. H is the number next to the x. K is the number next to the y. Because k goes with y. H goes with x. So you're never going to have the h next to the y or the k next to the x. Okay? So that's helpful. That helps us kind of identify what h and k is going to be. Now it's very similar as well as what they do. H and k are still the vertex. This still means opposite of that number, opposite of that number, opposite of that number, because they have the minus signs. The only one that's not opposite is this number here, whatever's in that position. Now the a value still determines which way it opens, but because it's horizontal, remember, these parabolas open left or right. That looks a little better than it did before. A positive a means it's going to open to the right, a negative a means it'll open to the left. Right, but h and k is still the vertex, and the signs are still switching around when they need to be switched around. So here I have a horizontal parabola. By the way, how can you tell the difference between a horizontal one and a vertical one? Well, it's pretty much a dead giveaway. The x equals is a horizontal, the y equals is a vertical. So you can see in these examples, we're going to see x equals. That indicates, of course, a horizontal parabola. So keep that in mind if you're wondering how to tell the difference between them. That's a giveaway right there. Now, which way does it open? So remember, this format is x equals a y minus k squared plus h. Again, you can see that's the exact same as this, a y minus k squared plus h. So association, what is a? A is 3. Now, I don't care that it's 3, I just care if it's positive or negative. If it's a positive 3, and remember, if it's a positive a, it opens to the right. So we're going to open to the right of parabola. Now I need to know what h and k are for the vertex. H is still the x value, k is still the y value. Alright, so k is where the 7 is. Now remember, it's opposite for that number because it's minus k, so it needs to be opposite of negative 7. So k is really a positive 7. H is where this 2 is. Now I don't have to change the sign because it's not negative h. I'm going to leave it. It says positive 2. It is a positive 2. So our vertex is 2, 7. You can see that on the graph there. Alright, so sometimes it might help you if you write the equation, or the formula, so to speak, right underneath the equation that you're given, so that you can directly match what a is, what k is, what h is, and then you can also see at the same time, are you supposed to change the sign, or are you not supposed to change the sign? That could help as well. Alright? But another trick, again, to remembering what h is and what k is, because k is the number next to y. So for instance, before I even start this, you see this plus 3 here? Notice it's next to y. That means that's going to be k. Now if you look back at the formula, this is supposed to be opposite in that position, so really k is going to be negative 3 here. H is this negative 1. And if you look back at the previous question, we don't change the sign for that h. H is a negative 1. Alright, so before I skipped the opening part, let's go ahead and write the vertex. The vertex was negative 1, negative 3. Right, h, okay. Now which way did it open? Well, that's the a value shelf. A value, you can always tell where the a value is because it's always a number in front of these parentheses. So that I got a negative 2 in front of these parentheses, that's the a value. It's clearly negative, which means it opens to the left. Remember, a positive a would open to the right, a negative a would open to the left. And don't forget, of course, this is horizontal. You can tell it's horizontal, which means it's left or right, because it's x equals instead of y equals. Alright, so there's a lot of things not to try to mix up here. X equals is horizontal, y equals is vertical, h goes with x, k goes with y, a being positive and negative, determines whether it's up and down or left and right. So there's all those things you got to try not to mix up. But when it comes down to it, everything's going to be 1 of 4. Here, let me erase this. Everything's going to be either this or this. That's for the horizontal parabolas. Okay, it's going to be in that format. So you just take them, write them down, and match them up like I said to do. Or it's the vertical ones, which are these. Okay. Again, pretty much the same thing, except everything is just switched. The y and x are switched, and the h and k is switched. But you can still just take this, write it down right next to your example, and match up what a is, what h is, what k is, and what needs to change the sign and what doesn't. All right, I hope it helps a little bit, folks. There's not a whole lot of math involved. You're just sort of playing a matching game, basically. So, good luck to you. I will see you in the future. Bye-bye.